That signal that's never, ever, ever, ever flashed before on the weekly chart, and that is a bullish divergence. I didn't know this, but Bitcoin, you go all the way back to almost the beginning. This goes back to 2013. You'll see that every single time we have a tremendous, tremendous run, right, where Bitcoin peaks and then comes down on the weekly scale, there's a bearish divergence, which a lot of charters will use, and it's a major reversal, right? It indicates that things are going to come down. But on the weekly scale, we have never, ever, ever, ever seen a bullish divergence. And that is what we're going through right now. So is this a positive indicator? Yeah, it's very, very bullish on a weekly scale. Again, we have never, ever seen this before. So does that mean something terrific is right around the corner, especially with the macro conditions starting to improve too? Now, some people do not think that macro conditions will improve, but I think next month, when we get that next FOMC meeting and we get more economic data, right, we look at all that, and if we see that rate hikes are going to decrease and Powell and the rest of the governors are going to be more dovish, along with all the metrics that show Bitcoin is severely oversold and ready to turn, we could see some tremendous things right around the corner. And also, there's a lot of charts like this. You know, these inverse charts are great because, you know, when things are down, no one wants to believe that Bitcoin will ever go up. People only believe that it'll ever go down. So if you look at an inverse chart of Bitcoin, you'll see, okay, yeah, you know, it tends to break out from this trend line and then form a new low, right? And it kept doing that, and this is going back to 2013, right? But then you realize, oh, wait a minute. This is actually in reverse or inversed, right? So if you were looking at this and you were a short trader, you would be shorting the hell out of Bitcoin right now because it looks like it's about to dump and go to another low. But you gotta realize this is showing an inverse, which means that if you were a trader, you would take this opportunity to be going long, not shorting, right? So these inverse charts are always like, they kind of tell you the truth, because if we invert this back to the normal, right, people will be like, no, you can't go long on Bitcoin. You can't buy Bitcoin right now. It's gonna go to zero. But in reality, Bitcoin right now is in prime, I don't know, range for buying. Let's just put it that way. But of course, there are a lot of people, not traders, holders, investors, that are loading up. You see the total supply held by long-term holders, right, going up, spiking up pretty significantly, over 67% now. Number of addresses holding one Bitcoin, look at that, spiking up, right? And a lot of you guys have told me you became a one coiner, a whole coiner. That's fantastic. This is the opportunity to be doing that. DCA, and with Bitcoin being around 16,000, pretty good time to be doing that. So these are all fantastic things. And then as for outside of Bitcoin, Ethereum, I've been telling you guys how deflationary Ethereum is, but they are working on 8 proposals for the next upgrade, a Shanghai upgrade. And one of them is the withdrawals, right? Many people have been waiting to withdraw their ETH. Right now, even being a staker, the rewards you cannot withdraw. And people that have staked in a beacon chain originally and now as part of the main chain cannot withdraw too. So a lot of people are waiting for that, right? And we'll see when this actually gets pushed out. It could be another 6 to 12 months. Belgium, the country of Belgium, says BTC, ETH, and other decentralized coins that are not issued by people but issued by code, are not securities. This is also very bullish. Okay, so this confirms Bitcoin, Ethereum, not securities, and other coins that are given or released by code are not securities as well. So maybe the SEC can learn a thing or two from Belgium, but maybe not while Gary Gensler is still there. But again, the world is opening up to Bitcoin and crypto, not just Bitcoin, crypto overall. This is why it's very, very exciting and why we want to be in it while things are still early. All right, last couple things. I did see this. This is not a good thing, okay? MetaMask is getting, I don't know. MetaMask, unfortunately, is going through some major changes, I guess. I don't know if it's changes or it's been like this all along, but people will start paying attention. But MetaMask recently, it was revealed that they are blocking certain addresses, right? Like the one sanctioned by the US. So it's not truly decentralized anymore, right? Because with the crypto wallet that you control, you should be able to send crypto anywhere. But unfortunately with MetaMask, you cannot. And now it's been revealed that they will record your IP address also, which is very disappointing. So again, wherever you log in from, now it will know exactly where you're from. So I get like centralized exchanges like Binance or Coinbase, they want to know where you are, right? Through KYC, I get it. So if you want to use a centralized exchange, you have to, right? But when using a decentralized wallet like MetaMask, now they're collecting all this information. I don't know. That turns me off in a big way, right? So now this might push users to other wallets. But, unfortunately, MetaMask is the biggest browser-based wallet. But I'm sure there are alternatives, so I'm going to be seeking them. But just to want to let you guys know that MetaMask is going to be recording IPs, which will probably turn a lot of people off in the industry. There's been a lot of talk about proof of reserves for the exchanges, right? Even though a lot of exchanges have come out with numbers in terms of how much assets they hold from the users, but they don't really tell you how much is from, well, how much was deposited, let's say, by the users versus how much they actually hold, right? There's no separation. You just know how much they hold right now, but how much was actually deposited? Well, Binance is changing that. So they actually released this in terms of how much they have and and how much customers deposited, and their reserve ratio is actually 101%. And if you don't believe it, you could actually go verify your own assets on Binance. It uses a Merkle tree and it actually basically makes this whole, setup where it looks like a tree. Starting from the root is like a hash, and then it breaks it down into all the deposits and everything that they have. It's actually pretty cool looking. But they are the first ones, I believe, to do this, to actually verify how much was deposited versus how much they have now, versus just saying how much we have now, like all the other exchanges. Now, I'm sure other exchanges will be following this, but Binance wants to lead the way when it comes to transparency, and that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So they have 582,000 Bitcoins. That's a lot, but still not as much as Grayscale and not as much as Coinbase. Coinbase says they're holding $2 million, or no, not dollars, 2 million Bitcoins in their custody service. And something else with Binance, and this would be good for those of you guys that had assets on Voyager. Binance.us will be bidding for Voyager. And Binance.us said that FTX spread a lot of FUD about Binance saying, oh, they can't participate in the bid because somehow they're not, they can't operate in the U.S. That's completely BS, because Binance does have Binance.us, which is a separate entity just in the U.S. alone, and they will be bidding for Voyager since FTX can no longer go through with the acquisition. So we will see. And then lastly, Binance is also committing to this recovery fund, which basically they are setting up to like a reserves for distressed companies of the future. Okay, so in case we have more collapses, this fund is meant to help those companies. But it's not just them. Others have jumped in to commit to this. Jump Crypto, Aptos Lab, and Animoca Brands and Polygon, they all decided, and a few others decided to join in on this fund to kind of help prevent contagion spread in the future. What's interesting is Aptos Labs was invested by FTX. So I don't know if this is just like them doing PR or doing damage control. So I don't know, but a lot of you guys have asked me about Aptos in the past. And I'm like, I just don't trust them because of that FTX connection there. All right, so let's start out with some good news with Binance. Let's jump into more good news with Cathie Wood, who once upon a time did say that Bitcoin will go to 1 million. And she says it'll get there by 2030, which, you know, is only really 7 years. We're about to jump in 2023. This year has really flew by really fast. Really fast. But in 7 years, that's 2 more cycles, she believes Bitcoin could go to 1 million. And she was recently asked that. She made this prediction years ago. And she was asked again whether or not she thinks it's accurate or if she changed her mind. She's like, no, I still believe in that. And her 3 big sector bets is, of course, GDBC, also Square, which is now Block, and also Coinbase. Okay, and plus she does hold Bitcoin, but we don't know how much. And the reason why does she think Bitcoin is going to 1 million? She just believes that not enough people know about it. And once they do and truly understand what Bitcoin is about, especially now, as more and more people are learning about what's causing inflation, what the banks have done, the central banks in particular, right? As more and more people learn that you can't really trust central banks, they don't really look out for the best interest of the people. They just like do short-term patches. But long-term, what they're doing is destroying everyone's wealth, really, through inflation, right? And as more and more people learn about that and know about it and want to opt out and get into something better like Bitcoin, well, that's why Bitcoin will go up in price and hit $1 million in the future. So Cathie Wood is still staying with that. Tim Draper has a 250,000 prediction by 2023. Now that I don't think is going to happen because I think that's too early. But do I think this could happen by 2030 as we head into 2 cycles, or it'll be 2 cycles afterwards? It could. It could. It may sound outrageous, but you know what? Bitcoin does outrageous things sometimes. All right, now besides Cathie Wood, and then as for some general economic data today, consumer inflation in Japan is rising at the fastest pace in 40 years. You know, I just got done saying earlier, you know, inflation. I know that everyone likes to pinpoint it on the war and supply chain issues. But why we really have crazy inflation right now is because of all the printing and no one dares to talk about it. That's the real reason why we have inflation, right? And inflation is just still very high in other countries around the world and still climbing. So that is something that's unfortunately happening. But the good news is, the best way to look at it is, it's forcing people to learn about why this is happening and forcing people to do something about it. Possibly turn people towards Bitcoin. Also, Germany, a lot of people are worried about Germany because of their reliance on Russian gas. But their GDP grew. So maybe they're going to have less severe recession, because many people think that Europe is going to have a horrible recession in 2023. Even Bank of England said that for UK. They said it's going to be the worst recession they've probably ever seen. And many people feel everywhere else in Europe is going to be the same way. So we'll see. We'll see if that actually takes place, and hopefully it doesn't happen in the U.S. But we'll see how aggressive Powell is at the next FOMC meeting. DXY is climbing today, but still pretty low at 106. Much better than 113, 114 that we have seen prior, right? But we really want to see this go below 100. But the DXY, the second largest weighted group, is against the Japanese yen, and if their currency is still collapsing, that's why the DXY is going up. So that may keep this high for some time. And then lastly, Elon is going to launch their revamped verified service next week. So that not only do you have a blue check mark, now you have a gold check mark and a gray check mark. Actually, Michael Saylor, proposed this not years ago, but months ago, and Elon didn't pay attention, but now he's going to use it.